Welcome to Baking with Baz. What we're going to be talking today is our double chocolate chip cookie recipes. If you purchased this, thank you very much. If someone gave it to you, that's phenomenal. You must have a friend or a family member that really loves you. These are our chocolate chip cookies that we sell on our market, we sell in our store, and now you have the recipe to make them at home. So we're going to actually go through this recipe guide so we actually talk about it. Here's the front cover, and then what we have here is our recipe, recipe guide, and then on our last page we actually have the baking instructions, and we're going to go through all this together. So I'll read this as we go through, and that way you actually make sure you have everything with you. So first of all, you're going to get all your dry ingredients ready. You're going to have 405 grams of flour. This is all-purpose flour, not bread. Then we have our baking powder, 8 grams. We have our salt, 3 grams. Baking powder, salt, 3 grams. Baking soda, 6 grams. And cornstarch, 4 grams. All right? And that's all the dry ingredients. And then for our wet ingredients, we have our unsalted butter. We have 2 sticks or 226 grams of unsalted butter. We have our dark brown sugar. You can use light brown if you prefer, or if that's all you happen to have, but dark brown gives that more molassesy, that deeper taste. All right? And now we have our granulated sugar as well. We have 120 grams of that. And then we also have one entire egg, and then 2 egg yolks here as well, pre-cracked. We have our 10 grams of vanilla paste, and then we have our 1 pound of chocolate chips. Look at this, dark chocolate, semi-sweet chocolate. You're gonna love it. And if you follow through with everything else, first of all, you're gonna mix your dry ingredients with everything. All right, so we have our flour. So it says in a separate bowl. So you're gonna mix all your baking soda, your cornstarch, your baking powder, and your salt all together with the dry ingredients. You're gonna mix them all together, just like that. And then you're just gonna give it a little stir, just to kind of put it together. That's about right, all right? One of the main things with this recipe with butter is you want your butter cold. You don't want your butter really room temperature. You don't want it really hot, half melted like you see in some recipes. This recipe is a little bit different. You want cold, cold butter. All right, we're gonna put the butter inside of the mixer. Okay, now we're gonna add our brown sugar, 200 grams of brown sugar. And we're gonna add 120 grams of granulated sugar. At the bottom of my notes it says, do not cream the butter. Okay, so when you're creaming the butter, what that means is you're adding a lot of air to it. And you're getting it really whipped up. But what we wanna do here, we actually wanna just put this together so the butter is actually coated with the sugar. They're all just mixed in really well. So here's exactly what we're looking like right here. Okay, now if I were to turn this on a little bit harder and leave this going for about another 5 minutes, it'd become creamed. But see how everything right there is now just mixed in really well? The butter and the sugar actually all just combined. And that's all you actually want to do here. We're gonna go ahead and add our egg and our egg yolks, all right? And so when you're adding your egg and egg yolks, you can add them one at a time, or you feel free to add all 3 in at the same time. I like to add all 3 in, and you should always crack your eggs in a separate bowl just to make sure you don't get any shell pieces, and just to make sure you don't have a bad egg. And at this point, we're just gonna mix the eggs and the butter together, a little bit, eggs and the sugar and butter together once again. And now we're gonna add in our 10 grams of vanilla paste. One more quick stir. Turn it up a little bit, just get it mixed in for about 30 seconds. Get those eggs really incorporated really nicely. And you're gonna find, when you have everything pre-measured like this, it makes your time fly through the kitchen. Take your time, pre-measure everything, and you can get it all together. So now we're gonna add in our dry ingredients. We're only gonna add in about 1/3 of the dry ingredients right now. And give it a couple pulses, just until it starts absorbing in there. Okay, now we're gonna add in the eggs part. Add about 1/3. And then we're gonna do the same as that. If you have a little flour fly out, that's quite all right. All right, and now we're gonna add the last bit of flour as well and have that dialed in. And once again, if it flies out, it's okay. Okay, so now everything's come together really nicely. Big point is here, you do not want to overmix it at this point. You do not want to overmix anything at this point, because once your flour is added in, you don't want to start building tons of gluten by overmixing your flour. A lot of people actually take the wrong approach and they mix the butter in really fast, and then they turn it on all the time for this back part. Everything's mixed in really nicely. As you see, there's a couple little white spots in there. I'm not going to worry about that because when I turn this back on with the chocolate chips, you'll see how it goes. We're going to add in all the chocolate chips at once. We're going to drop this down. Just give it a couple good pulses in there. All right, so all the chocolate chips are combined. This will make 1 dozen 4-ounce cookies, or you can split them in half and make 2-ounce cookies. If you want one of those tall cookies, you know, that has a little, looks like a glob inside and it has that big mound where it's almost raw inside, you're gonna shape your cookie like this and then throw it in your freezer for about 1 hour, okay? However, I like my cookies where they're nice and round and they actually have a beautiful round shape all the way around, and they're not undercooked in the middle, they're nicely cooked. And you're gonna spread them out on your cookie, you're gonna spread them out really nicely, because remember, these will spread about double the size here. They'll spread to about double. All right, now we're gonna put them in the oven at a 350 degree oven for approximately 19 minutes, and that's if you made a 4-ounce cookie. They're fresh out of the oven now, and I went ahead and added 2 more so I could fill up the baking sheet. But look right now, when you pull them out, you want to actually pull them out before they get a little darker than this, right? Because what they're going to do, they're going to continue cooking as they come out. So what I observe always is that you can actually pull a cookie out and get a little darker as you go. So don't overcook your cookies. What you're looking for is when you have a cookie in the oven, you'll see a shine on it. And as the shine starts to go away, that's when it's ready to pull out, okay? So we're gonna let these cool out for 1 second. But what I also did, I went ahead and bagged up some of the smaller cookies, and I made some 2-ounce versions as well. So this is more like for the everyday snack around the house, right? 2-ounce cookies, just the right size, instead of these 4-ounce ones that we sell. And then you want to put it on your baking sheet. You want to take it off your baking sheet as quickly as you can without them falling apart. Okay, because they're still very tender, and if you're not careful, they'll fall apart. So you have to let them rest for just a few minutes and then pull them out and they're ready to go. Here's the cookies that you purchased. So once again, thank you for buying the kit. We truly appreciate it here, and please feel free to reach out if you have any other questions or suggestions. Thank you so very much and have a great day.